25. This is what we're doing. Well, hello, everyone.
Hey!
This is how we're kicking off
This is the
2025.
bag area.
Yeah, well, yeah, Bianca designated it the purse section. You got the Bianca's purse and Kareem's man purse.
Is that what it's called?
It's a man bag, actually.
Oh, my bad.
And not our regular studio, but this is where we're at today. How cool is
And then
this?
also, if on our Instagram, you'll get to see this one in full effect. We aren't doing it right now, but you'll see it on Instagram. So stay tuned on Instagram.
Stay tuned.
I'm excited for this
Thing. Sounds like there's some drama.
There's definitely
Called.
Oh my god. It begins. Life.
I see like everyone plays a part, right?
Yeah.
So,
Of course.
Thing Called Life. Hello, welcome back to Thing Called Life. I am Dr. Damaris.
I'm Bianca.
And I'm Kareem.
Welcome to 2025. As you can see, we're in another location and we have a special guest. I'll let you introduce yourself.
My name's Allan Rodewald. I'm a Houston artist and living in the First Ward.
And
Yeah.
we're sitting in Allan's studio right now, and I wish, well, actually I did a little preview before in video, but the artwork in here is so impressive. It's larger pieces and they're all just like, there's so much context and so much going on in all the pieces that it's just, you have to sit there and actually look at it for a while. And I don't know, I'm impressed. I for sure was not expecting this. I know you're friends with Kareem and that's how, you
Right.
made the connection, but I guess how long have you been doing this for?
I have a weird kind of situation in that I've been painting now in my 7th decade. So
Wow.
I painted in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s.
Are you aging backwards? I'm looking at you like, how does this make any sense? You've been painting since you were born? Like,
Yes,
in the womb.
I came out of the womb as an artist. I'm pretty sure of that. Because I don't know any other part of my life other than I know that I was a boy, but I knew I was a boy and I knew I was an artist. Two things I knew at a very young age. Yeah, and there wasn't any real questions with that at all. It was, Allan was going to be an artist.
So what inspired you to actually just, I would say take the leap, because you always hear about the starving artist, right? But you don't look like you're starving at all, which is good.
The starving artist is a real thing. It is. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
A lot of artists go through it. Picasso had to run electrical lines and garden hoses, and they all got their electricity shut off. Jackson Pollock and all these guys. And I've had my share of starving artists, but I have been blessed for some reason with a lot of art, but I've also been blessed with a little bit of business, and that business is one of the elements that has helped me to be successful. I'm a very disciplined artist, basically a 9 to 5 or 5 or 6 days a week. So
So is that what you mean when you say business oriented? Like you treat it like an actual 9 to 5 job, or?
I treat it like a 9 to 5 job, and I realized that in order to do it right, you have to have accountants. You have to have you have to do all your bookkeeping.
Social media.
You have to do social media, which when I first started, of course, there wasn't social media.
Right.
But I'm learning social media, and so there's a lot of other aspects of it. Keeping track of your supplies, costs, time. So there's a lot of aspects into being the business side of art.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
You look like you had a question.
no, she was thinking because that's something I was.
The questions over here.
No, I just pressed something on the audio thing, so the first part of it
It's
may
gonna
have
be
been,
only on there.
it may have been, the sound may be a little bit weird, but just if you could state your name one more time, because it's just for clarity.
Yeah, sure. Allan Rodewald.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
One thing I notice about the artwork in here is that a lot of it, well, not a lot of it, maybe all the stuff on this side is like that shiny, almost glass-like material. Can you tell us, like, what is that? Because I've seen that with a few artists doing that. I want to say it's fairly newer than...
Yeah, some artists do artwork on a canvas or a panel, then they pour a clear over it, and that gives it some thickness and depth. One day I was working and painting it with acrylics, and I went and peeled the whole piece of acrylic out of my palette. It came up all at once. And I looked at the back side of it, and I said, wow, that's pretty cool. So what I started to do is I bought a piece of glass, and I started painting on the front. Then I flipped it over, and I saw how it looked painted in reverse. So...
Isn't that mind-blowing? Like, I know this story. So
the pieces, for example, the piece over here is painted completely in reverse. So I put some paint on, let it dry, lift it up, look at it, put some more paint on. So it's all painted backwards.
Oh my goodness. That's mind-blowing.
I knew that Joe would enjoy this one.
Yeah.
I'm glad I asked that question.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
didn't even tell me that
No,
that was
I'm
the case.
And that's how I came about it. I was cleaning my paint palette one day, and all the paint just peeled right out of it. So
It sounds like most artists, like if you hear their stories, it's like they accidentally came upon something and then that became their masterpiece, like the one piece that they're known for sometimes too. That's what I like too, because it's like sometimes it's a happy accident.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
and it's genius, because if you wouldn't have told me that, I would have been like, what? But now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, like this is pretty cool.
And it gives you a better
Serendipitous,
appreciation for his art as well, because like then you can just to think backwards on like even talking about it, I still can't even really express myself correctly, but like to see that art comes out the way it looks on the other side so beautiful, but knowing that it was done completely backwards.
and another aspect of that is the first color you put on, and then you put a color over it, and then you put a color over that, and you lift it and look, and now your first color is buried under two other colors. So you have to really have a vision to say, I know how this is going to look. I hope, and I hope it's going to look like that, because it's not always like, I mean, there's some times I've done some scraping, but I've also done them where I've poured lacquer thinner on them and went to erase the things, and the paintings themselves actually started moving around and the paint started to melt, and I left it, and I lifted it up and went, oh my gosh, this is kind of cool, and just trying to erase it. It was a happy accident.
Wow.
Nice.
So, I did it, didn't like it, knew I only could start over, and so that's what I did, and so that was a happy accident.
Very cool.
So I don't know much about art, like how we were speaking about earlier, and I wish I could draw myself, because I have very vivid dreams, very detailed dreams that I wish I could draw them. But
I thought you were going to say, I wish you could draw yourself.
no,
I was
my
like,
dreams. Like
She's so vain. She's so vain.
no, not myself. So
That's a ringtone.
I never want to put art in a box, because I think it's very personal to that artist, them expressing themselves. But would you say that there's a certain type of art that you're known for, per se, like how other artists are known for? Like when you see that art, you just know that that's your name on it.
There's a few things. My fabric paintings, everyone likes my fabric paintings, and then the plexiglass pieces, the reverse plexiglass pieces are pretty. I'm pretty well known for those, or known best for those. But when people come to my art shows and they see the paintings, a lot of times they'll go, is this just you, or is it 5 other artists? And the reason for that is because I have this series that I like to do, and they're cloud paintings. Then I have this series I like to do with the plexiglass, and then I have the fabric pieces, and then over there I have a whole series of drawings. So
Chalk, right?
no, those are pencil.
Those are pencil.
Those are graphite drawings, right?
wow.
So I have I jokingly say that when I was incarnated this time. God didn't do it with one artist. He did it with a whole bunch of artists and mixed me up and made me.
I like that.
So that's the only way I can explain it. But it helps because I don't get bored with one piece. And it takes away the job-likeness of it. I'm known for this, so I got to keep creating this style. But I'm free to go ahead and do another style or to try something different.
So would you say that you try a new style if you get tired of one particular style that you've already done for so long?
I have the ones that I like, 5 solid ones, but I do have the ones that branch out. That actually that'll happen, and I have them marked as experimental.
Kind of like the piece behind us, right?
Yeah, the piece behind us is this is a light box piece,
Right.
which was Kareem. You've seen it before.
Yeah, it's beautiful. We'll definitely show some stuff on the Instagram.
Yeah, we'll do some pictures and we'll put it as
And
part
video
of
as
the
well,
video
'cause,
and then show it on Instagram.
The only way you can
Yeah.
actually grasp the brilliance of this thing is to turn it on, and it'd be too distracting during our interview.
Oh no,
but,
you can't have it
there's
on.
no way. But once we put it on, we'll show you on Instagram. You'll see how beautiful it is and all the contrast. And is this done in the same layered way?
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
so yeah,
That's so
Right.
cool.
it's just.
It's
super- yeah.
backwards?
Yeah, it's the same way as yeah. So it looks like it's purposeful, but all that's. I mean, it is, but all of it is stacked backwards. It's still mind blowing.
Yeah, and it's done with LED lights.
Yeah.
And you can control. You have a controller or an app,
Oh.
and if it gets a little darker, we'll turn it on, and it's a special piece. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about, I guess let's go back. Obviously, out the womb with a paintbrush,
No, I had it like a pirate. My mom didn't like it, but
I can envision the French beret because you always see the artist with the French beret. Did you go to school for this, or tell us a little bit about your trajectory and how you got here?
both my parents saw that I had some art ability. Both my parents were very creative. Neither one was an artist per se, but they knew that I was drawing, and they said, "Hey, something's different about this kid." So they found a teacher, took me to art lessons. Wow. So I started art lessons when I was 8 years old.
Nice.
Took them basically all the way through. These are private lessons. Took them all the way to graduation from high school.
Wow.
And then when I graduated, I grew up in the state of Michigan, and I went to a small university in Michigan, but it had a good art program. And I graduated there with a degree in painting and drawing, a bachelor's, which is basically there you go, good luck. Yeah, because there is not a job application in the world for someone who graduates with that degree. So it really is one that you have to really, if you're going to make something of it. But there was never any doubt in my mind. I was a kid that from 8 years old to now, I just always knew that I was going to be an artist. I was always going to do it, which is even more of a blessing than a talent. Than having a talent. Right. They were going, "Oh yeah, you were blessed with a talent." I was blessed with a talent that had to do with starving. A starving artist.
Yeah.
But my biggest blessing truly was the fact that I knew exactly what I was going to do in a very, very hard occupation to make it in.
Yeah, and also the support of your parents, which is.
And I had the support of my parents, which it's almost like, thank God they didn't know how hard it was because they didn't discourage me. Because I have a lot of people who will tell me their parents wouldn't pay for their degree if they were going to be an artist. Yeah. Or, no, you can't do that. And like I said, thank goodness my parents just said, no, we're going to keep taking him to lessons. And, that's a sacrifice, even one day a week, just taking the kid to a private lesson. So it was, where I grew up, parents, having a talent, there's a lot of things that contributed, a lot of elements that contributed to me and my career today. So
did you start just painting independently after college, or did you end up doing some different jobs here and there?
I have never filled out a job application or a resume.
Wow.
Okay, I
We're going to let that breathe just for 2 seconds.
I can't even imagine.
No,
That's
but
beautiful.
that reminds me of how Steve Harvey said, if you have a plan A, don't make a plan B, because then you'll always rely on that and not put 100% in your plan A.
Give yourself options.
You
Yeah.
were plan A
The
the
whole
whole
way.
way, huh?
I was plan A in it the whole way.
Since he was 8
that's-
years old.
Dude, that is.
Yeah, I had a business plan at 9.
I
No, I did not.
That's where all the experience comes from.
I do have one question though, like, and maybe this comes from your upbringing, but like, where did the courage to not only run after? I guess this would be your dream now, right?
Yeah,
At
it's-
eight, when you ask an 8-year-old what they want to be, some say artist, others say be a fireman. I was one of those kids, and then you want to be I don't know, a pilot. But like, you actually had the courage to like walk through all the craziness and get to where you are now. Like, where do you find that? Where does that courage come from?
No courage. How about that one?
Please explain.
You don't need courage when you know that's it. I said another aspect of having this, knowing what you wanted to do, is I never, thought of failure. Failure was not even in all those books on that people have on motivation and creating the dreams you want, and you can't think of failure. You always got to think. Thinking positive was not even. That's the way I thought.
Yeah.
I just knew that I was gonna, and I had various different types of art that I did that actually contribute to what I do now. When I first started off, I didn't start off painting. To doing this type of work, I went through a series of different things, and my very first one was when I was in high school. My friends said, "Oh, and we have a car, we have a motorcycle. We want you to custom paint it." So that's how I started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A Detroit kid doing Detroit things.
Yeah. I was a boy. I always liked cars, fun cars, and all my friends did, and that's. I went from there to somebody actually said, "Hey, I invested in a restaurant, and I know you can do this stuff on cars. Can you do murals in restaurants?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, of course." So. That was another thing. I never said no.
There's no
I love
fear
the
there, so it's
confidence.
just yes all the
It's
time.
like, yeah, we're going to figure it out.
And I actually looked up some of those that I was mentioning to you earlier. There was a realistic like canopy on the ceiling that he painted, and it was so cool that I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
this is crazy how realistic it looks.
Yeah.
It's insane, because I was just like, to paint with such creativity and have an imagination that make it, I don't know, you made it come to life and people get to enjoy that. I think that's what's the best part.
And that's where my classical training came in from 8 years old until I graduated. And then when I went to college, I learned more about abstract things. But I went from there into doing restaurants, and I've done over 100 restaurants.
Oh, wow.
And I do restaurants for I did a lot of restaurants and houses for one of the biggest restaurateurs here in the city, if you would know his name.
Yeah, we all know.
Yeah. So
Starts with an L.
yeah.
Okay.
No, it
Yeah.
does. Or
Well, I was
well,
thinking the
yeah.
line.
Yeah, okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a very positive experience for me. I learned a lot and did quite a few restaurants, and things branched off from there. I did 4 of his homes, I think.
Nice.
So and then
Hold on, when you say homes, you did a mural in the house?
his homes. Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. And then I started working with designers, got out of more of the commercial business, and now I still do murals in homes, but they're pretty nice residences that I
Right.
do work in. So I've gotten to that echelon to where I'll do that, and I'll work for a few days, and then it gets me out of the studio. Then I come here and I'll work in the studio for a week, and so
Switch it up.
I still get out, and which is good. It's good for me to get out of the studio sometimes. So, and those, everything I did, like even when I was doing the cars, the painting behind me is done with a lot of candy apple automotive paints. The paintings, some of the paintings with the golds are done with gold leaf. When I used to do fire trucks and letter fire trucks and do race cars with gold leaf. So I have those. Those are things.
That's
those
a dying
are,
art, by the way.
Those are and those are stepping stones that are still elements that are in my art.
Yeah.
The candy apple paint,
Right.
the gold leaf, some of the other things that I do are still, they're stepping stones to where I am now. So each aspect of my business of my life especially after college, is apparent in my pieces here.
And that's one thing that I do love about your journey is that you never saw like through the eyes of an artist. You saw through the eyes of yourself. You know what I mean? You used all the skills and things at your disposal to create the art that you make. One in particular, I guess one line in particular that you do is it's aluminum, right? Is it aluminum?
Right.
Like car grade aluminum. Mm-hmm. And that's because, in the past you used to, paint on those surfaces. Mm-hmm. And you kind of walk us through why you use that and like what are the things that separates you from like other artists that are maybe in that realm?
Yeah, you have it pretty much exactly right. I had this aluminum, and I was painting with pieces of some of the candy apple pieces, mostly dripping them and this and that, but and sometimes squeegeeing them across the canvas. But I had this aluminum, and I said, I wonder if I paint this candy apple over the aluminum, if it would
like
resonate,
pop
yeah.
a little bit, yeah.
And then can I paint my oil paints over the top? So when you do your filming, you can show like the one I'm working on here, which you can see the background of it has that red and it glows, and it's like a semi-gloss, but it glows. The sheen is, and then
Super
the oil
deep.
paints are flat. So you see the flat, but then the aluminum and the candy apple colors radiate off in different spots, and it's almost like
Wow,
a sunset.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like how actual sunsets actually are, but in paint. And it helps to make these paintings very unique and different than any other, let's say, sunset or sky paintings.
That's for sure.
So,
I think also too. I've seen there's some artists, I don't recall their name. I wish I did, but they have I guess a skill where they can illuminate lighting in their painting, and like the light looks realistic. That's what that kind of reminded me of with the.
When there's one with a lighthouse, and then.
But the way that the light is
way it's
painted, it looks
painted,
real. Like it's as if there's a
sunlight.
light
The
behind
sunlight
it.
looks like there's
And you're
reflection.
looking at it, and you're like, is there a light? And it's like, no, it's just a canvas, and
Yeah,
you're just
and-
like, but that's what that looks like.
Yeah, with just like you were saying, because of the depth, you're able to capture like the flat portions of the art piece, but also the raised, quote unquote, raised portions as well. And it's not raised; it's just the illusion that you get from
right.
the elements that you're
It's
painting.
just an illusion. And
Right.
one of the, I think, kind of neat things about it is it changes throughout the day. And it changes as you walk past it. And when you walk past the piece, the light radiates and shines off the aluminum. And
That's pretty cool.
yeah, they're fun to do. So I still
think
like to do
what I
them.
think is crazy is how, like I said, I wish I could draw. I wish I could paint. I really wish, like maybe my next life. But to me, the amount of colors, the amount of type of paint, it just keeps going and going and going. Like when you go into an art store, the amount of levels of painting that you
The
can
options.
I'm
Yeah,
just like,
water paint,
it's
oil paint,
insane.
yeah.
I'm just like, and how much it costs too, it's not cheap. It is not cheap. And I'm just like, wow, like, okay. Like, and for you to be able to use stuff that was around you, I think makes that even much more, because it's like a lot, like they say, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Literally, like we find things and we can make art out of it, or we mix things by accident and we're like, oh, this works. Like, this is what I was looking for. This was what I was envisioning. So it makes it, I don't know. It's just crazy to me.
Yeah, that's just the way artists, a lot of times, they're thinking, they'll see something. I mean, I'm pretty much a two-dimensional guy. I like painting because I have so many ideas. I was telling some people earlier that I have so many ideas. I don't want to do sculpture. I don't want to do, because I'm going to die with paintings in my head, like, God, give me another. That's why I really hope to, like, buy my last one, okay, get my last painting. And that's how I want to do it. Now, that's one thing I did. Picasso did that. Mm-hmm. He basically went, I'm not feeling good, sat on the couch and
started painting.
No, he was, but he painted right up to the end, and I hope to have still a longer career, but
That's awesome.
To get back on a more mortal note.
So I do have a question. So tell us, because you've obviously done a lot of paintings. What would be, and I'm looking for the fun, juicy stories here, your wildest, craziest thing that you've done?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I've done that. That's a good question. I really have to think about that one and prepare. But I get called to do a lot of. I used to get called to do a lot of things, a lot of art or painting on a lot of weird things. Just different things. Everything from cameras to one guy says, I want you to paint my boat, and I went in, and he goes, I dropped it off at your house, and I went, sorry, dude, there's no boat here. You dropped your boat at the wrong house, and it was like that big. It was like one of man boats.
I'm thinking like
this is not the scare I was expecting.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking, okay, he's got a scarab he wants me to do, but so I have I'd have to think about that one, but I've had a lot of really weird requests and a lot of fun things.
Do you have a favorite piece of work that you've done?
No, this last year, 2024, I did my. It wasn't my largest piece, but it was a piece that I had jumped into another price bracket. And I was kind of excited about that. I had a goal for myself, and I said, okay, this is where I'd like to go. And then that did happen last year.
Congrats.
So,
Congratulations.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I think I know which one that is.
it was a
Kareem knows all this stuff.
No,
here.
no. It's,
Insider
no, it's not
information
that.
here.
I believe I know which piece it
Yeah.
is. I just,
and I have some other mural projects that I'm real proud of. The tent one is one that was, it's really a trompe-l'oeil, which means to fool the eye. It's French, and that one really came across as a one that people walk in the room and they don't know. It's a tent with stripes, and it comes down off a special ceiling, so the actual ceiling fits it very well. So, but
kind of like a circus tent.
yeah,
That's where my brain went immediately.
Right. It's sort of like that, but it has the folds and everything in it that really. I mean, you look at it, people don't know that they go, oh, they put cloth up there, they made it a tent, but it's painted.
Wow.
Wow.
Interesting.
We'll put a picture of that in the.
Yeah. So, and I have some projects too that I've done, that the aquarium restaurants,
I was just there a few weeks ago.
Yeah, the aquarium restaurant has, of course, a huge aquarium in the center, but it also has a ton of paintings all around and on the ceiling.
Right.
And I was hired to do those, and we did most of them on canvas. Okay, so we could do them while it was being built.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was loose canvas, so we rolled the murals up and we had them in all the spots off the blueprints, and then we we wallpapered them on there, okay, onto the walls in these different special alcoves they had for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So that's how they were done.
That's
but
awesome.
I had purchased 100 yards of canvas to do that project. So it was a lot of painting. Yeah.
That is a
100
lot of
yards.
painting.
That's
And
a football field.
Yeah.
People,
And
And
ladies
you did
gentlemen,
all
if
of
you
it
don't know.
yourself?
No, on that project,
Okay.
I had a guy that sprayed the backgrounds, and then I had some other artist helpers that helped on that.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, and there's other parts that we couldn't do on canvas, so it was really a big project. So we did 3 of those, and
Yeah, it's a big
three
place.
different restaurants there for that one. So I had some big projects too. So.
Now you alluded to like a business, I guess kind of like a business arm, and a lot of, again, let's say starving artists don't seem to have that portion of their life together. They're just kind of like putting paintings out and kind of figuring it out. I see pathways, especially with you, on how you've cultivated not only an audience but also basically a full following. Because some of your audience are also your clients, right? But then you also have those people who just, they love your work and they share it, and then that's how you get those, random one-offs, right? Kind of share with us what all that looks like for you on the business side, because again, I think there's a lot of starving artists out there that just.
Are you talking attracting clients or possible collectors?
Well, just kind of like what is your approach on let's say lead generation when it comes to artistry? Because again, for them to see it, we talked about social media before. It's all it's very tough, but there's other ways. What are those ways, and how do they benefit you?
I think that the biggest advantage that I've had is I like people. So going out and talking to people and meeting people is something that's been it's probably one of the biggest aspects of it. Now, when I first started to have art shows here, I invited everybody. Facebook wasn't even that big. So I had my friends go, hey, come on, have an art show. We're going to, and I had a few years of some pretty fun art shows here. Okay. But as I got going and as I started building up my clientele, then I started and I have a pretty good mailing list. And I think it's important to keep track of who these people are. Like after my sign-in book, I'll go that night and I'll put stars by their names or little notes of the ones that I want to contact to get into the next art show. So those are business things that a lot of people, a lot of artists, and what else I do is I like to go out and I'll go to the nice restaurant or a bar and, you start a conversation up. And it's an occupation that not everybody, you just don't meet a guy who paints for a living all the time, and
drives a very, very nice car.
Well, and so thank you, but so I'm constantly gathering up business cards. I have a process. All the business cards go right in. If I don't get them on the phone, the business cards go in this pocket. And so when at the end of the night, those go in the envelope and they get asked to the next show. So.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, I think
Take notes.
Yeah, I think going out has been very important. But
go out with a purpose, though.
I go out with a purpose.
Yeah, I like
do.
that.
I'm on the hunt. But and people genuinely are interested. They like artists. They minded it. An oil man. That doesn't really, an oil person doesn't really. They don't encounter that all the time. Or an engineer, they don't encounter. It's like, oh, this is kind of different.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And then they come here and they go, oh, this is not what I thought.
It's legit.
We all like the first time we were like, oh God, dang, this is like for real.
Yeah, it's for real.
Yeah, no joke.
So,
sorry, I looked like you had another thing.
So I have a question. So as most, I would say, artists in any form have a piece usually that either no one has seen or it's just something that they love so much that they just decided not to.
Can't let it go.
Yeah, like you can't show
It's
it
like
to
their
everybody.
pet project.
And they do later on maybe, but just not right now. Do you have a
one of
piece
those?
like that?
Oh my gosh, you know what I should have, I wish I would have known you were going to ask that question.
I just had it set up.
About 10 years ago, I went back to Michigan and to see my family, and they had found my very first drawing that I did when I took my first art lesson when I was 8.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So that was that was for sale, but I don't think anyone's going to pay that price, right? But
Retire me now, I dare you.
but I have to tell you that my frame of mind when it comes to that is I've had paintings that I really like, and I have paintings that I've had for a long time, and I'm going, what is going on? This is a really cool work, but then it hits that one person comes by, and it's like they have to have it. And then I go, oh man, I'm kind of like this one's going this weekend. And I'm kind of going, like, I really like that painting.
That's the one I call the dragonfly. I love that one.
Yeah. But what happens is you end up accumulating a lot of paintings if you don't let them go. And the other point is, and this sounds, maybe a little tacky, but the light bill still comes in every month.
Look.
And
Yeah.
you never know, that
We
might
get
be
it.
the only painting sale. And you have to, they always say you have to clean the closets if you want to put more new clothes in.
Right.
So I really only have that one, my very first one that came back to me. And but other than that, yes, but I have favorites, and I can't say that I have one, but I've had them that I go, oh man, I kind of just like looking at that one,
Do you document like your journey in the sense of like, I think there was one particular artist, they would take photos of themselves beside their artwork before it was sold. So do you document any of your stuff?
Yeah, I do. That's in 2025. That's one of my big changes that I want to make, because when you've created for 40 years and you've got, you do, X amount of paintings a year, and I have some, this sounds really bad, but I have some, I go, where is that painting and who did I sell it to?
Yeah.
They go out, someone goes, yeah, can we take it right now? And you lose track. So what I want to do now is I've been taking pictures of like the person who bought it and making notes of where it's going, because you have them out there and you forget about them, or something happens and then you don't know where they are. And then I had one in a restaurant, and then the restaurant closed down and they moved, and I went, oh man, where'd that painting go? It was just going to be there on, so there's unfortunate things that happen in every business, but that's really important. And the other thing is keep track of the collectors, because I'm pretty fortunate to say, and I think it happens with artists, is most of my collectors don't have one Allan Rodewald painting. Most of them have two. And the reason for that is, and I don't think that's totally unusual, but the reason for that is once again, Picasso says you buy the artist, not the art.
Yep.
So, and that's why I think you mentioned earlier that there's so many art, there's so much out there, so much art out there. What distinguishes yours from, and you can work really hard on being unique and different, which I do, but a lot of it's, they like to buy the artist. So,
Would you say, because I notice most of these is what I would call abstract, right?
Right.
Unless there's another name that I'm not familiar with.
no, abstract is good.
And then you have the Cloud series, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that has that aspect element to it, because it has the aluminum painted and the candy apple. So it still has an abstract element to it. But yes, they're abstract. That's how I.
Would that be classified as abstract realism?
Hey, you just made up maybe a new category.
I'm like, there's
have
a
a
word
whole
you
new
hear about
category.
that. You
We
just
have a
made
whole
it
new
up.
category.
I don't know. I mean, just because the clouds that you make are just breathtaking. Like
Yes.
I've always loved the skies. I wanted to be a pilot when I was a kid. And all
There's
that
something
stuff.
that everybody, almost everyone's attracted to or loves to look at.
Yeah.
It takes them out of their realism and puts them into nature
I-
where we feel like we should be half the time instead of in an office.
Yeah,
It's
right,
a relaxation
right,
thing.
right.
too.
Right.
I think what was it called? The sea sky? The one I mentioned earlier? Was that what it was called?
Aqua.
Oh, aqua sky. I'm sorry. Aqua sky. It didn't have that same.
No,
No, it
that
didn't.
was
Okay.
I was doing a lot still on canvas
Oh,
at
okay.
that time.
Because that one was realism, like to the T.
I'm assuming you haven't counted how many you've done in your lifetime.
Ooh,
No.
that's a good question.
No,
If you
I
had to
haven't.
put a guess,
Yeah, just a guess.
based
I
on how
would
many
really
you do a
like to know.
year and how many years you've done it, how many you think? Because I've seen so many in here.
I know,
and
there's
I'm just
small ones
and I
hidden.
know that in all the years that you've been working, there has to. I mean, I can't even imagine what the numbers are like.
Yeah, I don't know what the numbers are like either. 20, if I could do 24 a year, 20 a year, let's say, and you times it by, 40 years or something like that.
It's like 800 paintings.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I don't paint, my paintings take a long time to do. I know people who go, oh yeah, I did the painting and it took me 2 days. I don't do 2-day paintings.
No, this is definitely not a 2-day
You
painting
can tell
thing.
these are not 2 days.
No, it takes a long time for me to do them. So, but yeah, there's a lot out there, and I think I have about 100 paintings here in the house.
Wow.
Yeah, because you count the 3 floors, but I have about 100 paintings here. But that means there's some that are out, but I have about 100 in inventory, and then so all the rest of them have moved on to and been sold. So
That's amazing.
I think one thing I've noticed too with all artists in any industry is that, let's say you're not painting off of a photo, let's say you're just creating something in that moment based off of how you feel, to have the gift of being able to know when you're done with something. Because to me, I would be like, how do you, it's just like something you have internally. You just look at it and you're like, okay, it's done.
It's like baking a cake.
But I hear
No,
artists
it's not.
sometimes say that they don't feel like they're ever done. Like it's hard to put the brush down and say
That one's done. Yeah. Because that many colors that it has, that's what I'm just.
yeah, it's really hard. Well, there isn't like I was talking to my accountant yesterday, and she has pretty much a right and wrong way to she's gonna, this is it, she's gonna stop, and there's a lot of businesses like that in art, especially when you do abstract or even the clouds. You get to that point where you go, is it done or isn't it? I do have 3 ways that I tell if a painting is done. Can I tell it?
Yeah, tell us.
Okay. My 3 ways that I can usually tell if a painting is finished is I get to the point where I go, that matches my vision. That's what I wanted to accomplish, and I know that that's it.
Okay.
The other way is I get to where I go, I put some little paint on. I wonder how a little blue would look. So I put a little bit more of the blue on, and I go, man. And then I got to work it in and hide it or paint over it or something. And I'm just starting to put the paints I'm putting on, and what I'm trying to do is too much. And I have that feeling, this is not helping it at all. It doesn't look as good with it on. So this painting is finished. And then the final way is if I'm working on a painting and a collector comes over and goes, oh my God, I love that painting. Is it for sale? And I go, what a coincidence. I just finished it.
I like that.
Coincidence. I just finished it.
You said something that caught my attention because I was just thinking about your process and what you're doing and the whole you add color and you realize, nope, that's not it. I got to take it off. When you're painting backwards, How do you do that? And this is like I'm talking about actual
Yeah.
logistical question
and,
here.
and remember, it is backwards, so it's going to be the last color I put on.
Right.
So
So you have layers there, and now you got.
yeah, but if it's the last one, a lot of times I'll just do like a little section, and I'll see how that looks. And I'll lift it and I'll go, I don't think it needs any more of this color. And there are times where I can take that off if it is the last one. But there's a ton of times where I've taken and put a color on and then took the squeegee and went all the way across it and looked at it and went, I just ruined this piece.
Oh, God.
And
So what do you do then?
you
Start over.
you start over,
Oh God!
or
God.
you try to revive it.
I think I'd start crying.
Yeah. Oh, that happens. Well, the disappointment happens for sure because
Because you've done all this work, and then all of a sudden you do one thing, and you're just like, oh God, it's ruined.
yeah. So though what's happened is I have some that are in the graveyard. Sometimes I have them in there. I look at them and man, I'll set it down upside down or something. I'll go, oh my gosh, it's not dead yet. There's still possibilities there.
Yeah.
So that'll happen, but it's just you have this investment in this piece that you've been working on for a while. And you have the investment of like the edges need sanded, they need buffed out, and then you have to buy the plexiglass and then sand and buff them, and you've got hours into this already.
Right.
So you look at it and you try to save it. It's the person who's drowned and doesn't have a heartbeat. And you go, I got to see if I can get a heartbeat.
CPR.
I give painting artists CPR to that painting, and luckily they've turned out to be some happy mistakes. So
I know everybody has different taste in art. I guess how they view life. But it was like how I mentioned to you earlier when I first met you about how sometimes I've gone to exhibits and I just don't understand it. Like the one there was 2 canvases, an entire black one with a tear through the middle, and then the canvas behind it was red. And then that was it. It was just solid colored canvases. And I was just like, I don't get it. I don't understand. And there's a whole story behind it most of the time. But these I feel like tell more story because there's more color, but also they resonate more with me compared to other art I've seen. Mm-hmm. So is there, I guess in the art industry, is there sometimes an artist where you're just like, what are y'all doing? Like, what is this? Like, this isn't art.
Yeah, I don't want to say most of them, so I'm not going to. No, and it's not most of them, but I go to exhibits all the time, and I look at them and I go, I don't know why this person is in the museum. I went to the Menil and I couldn't figure out, and my friend I went to the Menil with, we couldn't figure out how this person made it. Now there are examples of, they were the first ones to do it at that time.
Okay.
And an example I give is like the first Beatles songs are real easy for somebody to learn and play, but at the time they were,
Oh, yeah.
they were groundbreaking.
Right.
But now, and so at the time, some of these artists were the first ones to do it, and that has merit to it. But, and I try in all my pieces, I really try to be distinguishable. I try to make my
You are
art.
definitely that.
I try to make my art to where you walk in and you go, oh, that's a Rodewald. I know it.
Yeah.
But there are artists that I just don't get. I don't.
You just reminded me of that Super Bowl commercial with the banana. Did you see that?
No, I don't
So
see
it was
that.
a banana taped to the wall, and that was the art piece. And then like one of the kids ate it, and then they were trying to find another banana to put back because it was. I think
That's
it was
a
like
real
the
art piece.
Kardashian thing.
But that's a real art. That was a real art piece.
Oh, that's a real art
Really?
piece?
Yeah, and it's sold for, I don't even know.
That's insane. It's like literally a banana taped to the
$600,000 or
wall.
something?
But see,
And
but
it was
then
like,
it goes.
Kris Jenner. It was in
But
her
see, but then
house.
that goes back to, it makes more sense to me now that it goes back to the people buy the artists, not the art. Because maybe that was just a piece that artist painted for some reason, and because that particular person likes that artist, they were like, I'm gonna buy this.
I mean,
I don't know.
I think
to me,
art in itself is subjective, right? Like
Yeah.
there's some people like you.
Damaris brought her cat.
I was like, this is not my
I was
cat.
about to say, I was like, what?
It smells like
Followed
it.
her.
So,
It's Miss Kitty.
but yeah, you have, like I said, art is subjective, right? So you have some people who love, let's say, country. You know, we live in Houston, and we have the rodeo coming up, right? But then there's some people who like rap. That's just, they like that because that's their thing, and that person likes that because that's their thing. And especially when it comes to art, I mean, again, subjectivity is
but
key.
I have a hard time going to like the Museum of Modern Art.
Yeah.
I love abstract. My house, all my paintings that I
Yeah.
have are abstract.
Yeah.
But when I go to the Museum of Modern Art and different, I've in Paris, in New York, and even here in Houston, and there's like a toilet bowl, and there's a chain on it, and that's like an art piece, and I'm just like,
I don't get it.
I can't like that. I don't.
And
get
I would
that.
not pay for that.
don't
That's
get
just
that.
me in general, though. Sometimes I see the prices on things, and I'm like,
Yeah, but
what?
again, like there'd be a shirt like this, and then somebody will just put a red Supreme on it,
Yeah.
and now it's like $14,000.
Yeah,
different.
exactly.
That's a
Again-
different thing, though.
Well, no,
but like,
but I'm just
when you
saying,
go to the Louvre
subjective.
afterwards and you see an art piece that's like 40 feet wide that someone spent probably a good portion of their life doing, and it looks amazing. You're just like, how can you compare this to that?
Yeah.
Okay, I do have one question. I know that you have, what do you call it, commissioned works, right? So when it comes to you, hey, I want you to blah, 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 blah. Has there ever been a time where it was such a weird request in such a short time, you tried to price them out, and they're like, sure, that works. And you're like, fuck. Just wondering, like,
Yeah. I've had them.
and I don't know anything about that. It just seems like that would happen.
And this is the scenario is when you go, oh, it's going to be X amount of dollars, and they'll go, what do you think, honey? And you go, maybe they don't want it, which is fine with me, and whether or not they get it, but when you go, oh, it's going to be this much, and they go, okay, do it. And you go, oh God,
fuck. Yeah.
I just leave a bunch of money on the table there?
Same thing when you're shopping for a job, and they're like, how much would you like to get paid? And you're like, $82,000. They're like,
Okay.
nah. Then you know you've asked too much. But if you go 82,000, like, yeah, for sure, come on in. And like,
Yeah, I thought you were going to ask for a lot more. And you go, crap, man, I should have. Yeah, that has happened for sure.
So what's the best way folks that are watching and fall in love with your work want you to do something for you? Take just public requests? Like, what's your process for
Yeah,
that?
well, most of the time it's a designer or a collector that comes by that's familiar with my work, but the size doesn't work or maybe a color. So that's how I get most of them. I know the person or I have a connection to that person. So that's how that happens.
Do you have any at Zaza? Because you seem like your paintings would like fit in over there.
No, I don't have any.
I'd be hard pressed not to see one of your paintings there. You know what I mean?
Well, now I'm going to be looking out for them. It's like, where's Waldo? I'm going to be like,
No, it's funny. He mentioned
Where's
the aquarium.
Rodewald?
So
Where's
he
Rodewald?
mentioned the aquarium, and I was just there a few weeks ago for my daughter's birthday, and then we went to Grand Lux,
Oh yeah.
and their like paintings along the walls are insane too.
Murals,
we were actually
yeah.
talking about it that day, like, oh my God, who did this? This is like crazy. Like, and the ceilings are so tall. Have you done like super high ceilings like that?
So is it just scaffolding
Yeah.
and you're laying on your back?
See, that's where they lose me. But like, nope, not that
Are you
high.
doing like a
like the
Mission Impossible where
cathedrals?
you're hanging from
That.
with cords and stuff, and you're like painting?
No,
Like, how's that
it's-
work?
It's not that glamorous. Believe me, it's not that glamorous. But I've had them to where when I've painted murals where I've done a dome and they've had to build scaffold for me, a platform, so I could do.
Do your thing.
The problem with that particular piece, the one I can recall specifically, is it had to have dimension to it. They wanted the dome to look like it went up. So I had to trust all my artistic training to say this is how it's going to look, because because they had made a platform, and I had to go down through a trapdoor type thing,
Wow.
But you couldn't see it. I never saw the painting
Until you were
from a
done.
distance until they tore that down.
So
That's one where you really have to trust.
Look at both of their mouths. Are y'all okay over there?
No.
You have to trust your artistic
Wow.
training for.
How did it
something
turn
like
out?
that. Oh, it turned out really good.
All right, we're gonna post that picture on our Instagram so you can see it.
Yeah, that was one I had done that one a long time ago, but
That's awesome.
yeah, that was. So sometimes you get them like that they're really difficult to do.
Yeah.
So, but
And then because their pieces are so enormous, a few of them, not all of them. There are some smaller ones, but like, how do you ship these? Like, I mean, this seems like something that would be very, in my mind, hard to ship. I'm obviously I own a moving company, so like to move this, I don't know.
oh my gosh, shipping's a whole nother animal. It's hard. But if it's a substantial amount, I can take and have a crate made, and I have a guy make a crate. They use lighter wood, cheaper wood, and they
So
can,
it's not as heavy when in transport, right?
not as
You have
heavy
to
as in
pay as much,
transport.
yeah.
But one of the neat kind of packaging ideas that I have that work pretty well is television flat screen boxes.
Oh, okay.
And they'll expand out or
Yeah.
expand,
Oh, yeah.
And then if your painting's this wide and the box is this wide, you can put plenty of
Like filler or
yeah.
something like that.
And I use a flat out insulation that they use for building.
Okay.
So I cut it to size, it fits all in there, and
Pretty cool.
yeah. So that works for lighter weight paintings, but
That's an
some-
art in itself, packing.
Right.
Oh my gosh, yes. Sometimes I try to talk the client into just having me give it to a packing company, a shipping company, and just they pick the painting up, pack it, and ship it. Because it can be a day to get a painting in a box and
Wow.
get that sent out. So
Now, I'm pretty sure you don't make double of anything. So have you ever shipped something and it broke and got to that customer and it's like,
yeah.
we don't have another one. This is it.
I never had one that was damaged like that. I've had them to where apparently I'm not going to say what shipping company it was. I'm not sure, but they had to drop it on the corner,
Oh,
but it had a frame on it. And sometimes frames make paintings beautiful, but a lot of times frames protect the painting, and that's what this one did.
From idiots who
So
don't know.
Yes.
I had only a little touch up on the corner and a new frame. So.
Wow.
Good. So do you post your work online, or if does someone have to come to your studio to see what you have to
No,
buy?
I have my website, and then I have my Instagram,
Okay.
and I do studio visits upon request or appointment.
What are your, I guess if you could share, what's your website?
Sure, it goes under my name, Allan Rodewald. Allan at allanrodewald.com.
Okay.
And spell Allan because most people
Yeah,
will not get this
yeah, it's
correct.
Allan. Last name Rodewald, Rodewald.
There we go.
And I'm
yeah.
guessing your Instagram is Allan Rodewald as well.
Yeah, mine is Allan_Rodewald_art.
Awesome.
There we go.
Well, now you guys know where to find him. Do you have any upcoming shows or anything that you're working on you want to share?
Yeah, I have a big show coming up in April. I think it's the 26th, and I'm doing it with two other artists, a friend, Gary Murphy, and then another well-known artist here in town, Taft McWhorter. And we are having a three-man show together
Brilliant.
at Reeves Art Gallery in Montrose.
Okay.
And then
Is that a public event?
On the 26th, it'll be public, yes.
All right.
Yeah, and then,
Let's do a trip.
you know, if anyone's interested in contacts me then about attending this show, I'll send them an invite. But I do studio shows here, and I'm trying to do them once a month. So my first one will be coming up, and I'll be it'll be coming up, I think, at the end of the month. So I don't have the date planned yet, but if anyone's interested, I'll shoot them an invite if they want to follow through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Great. It'd be cool to do a little road trip to April 1 with the artists and all that and
Yeah,
see what that's
absolutely.
like. That's so cool.
And then also, I'd definitely like to bring y'all back. You know, obviously we're not interviewing you, but just to see, you know, Allan in his element, because we had talked about this before. I obviously took sales training, so I do appreciate the way you connect with your clients. I think that's the most endearing thing about you as an artist, is that you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. But you really try to put that fresh foot forward and give the person that you're talking to some kind of connection to who actually you are, so they can, basically buy into who you are, and you're a great person.
Yeah, well,
I
thanks.
mean, all us car guys are awesome people. Don't forget that.
God, on that note,
And I'd like to invite y'all to my next show. And I
Heck
hope
yeah.
that to bring the cameras out and do some interviewing, and
Would
it
love
might be
that.
kind of
Oh
fun.
my God! Look
Maybe a
at
little-
Bianca's licking her lips over there.
she's always I
I've been
want to do
wanting
trips.
I've been wanting to buy a piece, and I've gone to several art shows, but I haven't found the one. So I'm hoping,
This is gonna be the
maybe
one?
you have something that I want.
I
'cause
think
I'm
he may
looking
be
for
out of your price range, though, based on what
I don't know if you take
hearing.
payment plans, but we can work something
I don't
out.
think his clientele is on payment plan.
It's AllanRodewaldFinancing.com. No, I'm just kidding.
So yeah, but I've been looking for something and I just haven't found it. Like I don't know. I know what it is, but I can't explain what it is. And when I see it,
you like his sheets collection, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Why'd you bite your lip right then?
Oh, no,
we
I
gotta
was
get out of here. We gotta go.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in, and thank you so much
Sure,
for
yeah,
sharing
yeah.
with us. This has been an incredible experience. I mean, as soon as I walked in the door, I was like, "Oh, I know I'm gonna like this," because this is like, I love art, and this is your artwork is just amazing. So
Yeah.
really breathtaking. It's one of those where you get like each piece is an experience.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Totally.
well, thank you.
That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
You just look at something, you're like, okay, wait, I can't even take this whole in at once. Like, I need a minute. So this has been great. Thank you so much.
Sure.
And
Yeah, thanks, Allan.
All right, yeah.
You're
stay
amazing.
tuned till next time.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet. Hey.
Oh my goodness. That's awesome. Thing. Sounds like there's some drama.
There's definitely not.
Called.
Oh my God. It begins. Life.
You see, like everyone plays a part, right?
Yeah.
So,
Of course.
Thing Called Life.